Every year, the world votes with its feet. Hundreds of millions of people flood into some places, drawn by beauty, romance, and stories told in every travel magazine on Earth. And then there are the places the world refuses to visit. Places that appear on news tickers, not bucket lists. Places wrapped in fear, sanctions, and silence. But here's what nobody asks. Who wrote those stories? Who decided which places we love and which ones we fear? Today, we travel to both sides of that line. And what we find will make you question everything you thought you knew about the world. Most loved. Paris, France. The city of love. 100 million visitors a year. Croissants. The Seine. The Eiffel Tower glowing at midnight. It feels like the most naturally romantic place on Earth. Like the city was born beautiful. But here's the truth nobody puts on a postcard. The romance of Paris was manufactured, deliberately. In the 1880s, after France's humiliating military defeat to Prussia, the French government needed to rebuild national pride in tourism revenue. They built the Eiffel Tower as a statement. They commissioned artists, lit the boulevards, and exported an image of Paris as the capital of elegance and desire. Even the phrase "City of Love" has no French origin. It was invented by American shipping companies in the 1920s, selling ocean liner tickets across the Atlantic. The dreamiest city on Earth? It was an advertisement. Most hated. North Korea, the most sanctioned, isolated, feared nation on Earth. The name alone triggers images of nuclear missiles, dictators, and darkness. Western media has one template for this country, and it never changes. But before 1945, there was no North Korea. There was only Korea, a single civilization, 5,000 years old with one language, one culture, one people. The division happened in 30 minutes. Two American Army officers, using a National Geographic map they found in a Pentagon office, drew a line at the 38th parallel. Neither man had ever been to Korea. Neither spoke Korean, and with that line, a nation was cut in two. In the 1960s, North Korea's economy was larger than South Korea's. It had more factories, more infrastructure, more resources. What happened next was not destiny. It was decades of war, blockade, and choices made in capitals far from Pyongyang. Most loved, Bali, Indonesia, the island of the gods, a place Instagram was practically invented to photograph. Rice terraces, temple ceremonies, surfside sunsets, spiritual retreats. Every influencer, every travel blogger, every honeymooner has the same 12 photos, and the same feeling that Bali is somehow sacred. But the Bali you visit is largely a construction. When mass tourism arrived in the 1970s, the Indonesian government and international hotel chains worked together to design what Bali should look like to foreigners. Certain temples were chosen to be photographed. Certain rituals were scheduled for tourist-friendly times. Sacred cremation ceremonies became ticketed events. The Balinese people themselves, one of the most spiritually rich cultures on Earth, have watched their holiest sites become backdrops for travel content. The rice terraces that define Bali's image? Farmers struggle to maintain them because hotel construction has been diverting the ancient irrigation water for decades. Most hated, Afghanistan. For 20 years, the word appeared daily in Western headlines. War, Taliban, terror, chaos. An entire generation grew up believing Afghanistan was simply a battlefield. But Afghanistan was once called the Paris of Central Asia. Kabul in the 1960s and 70s had universities, jazz clubs, fashion runways, and a thriving art scene. Women went to university. Tourists backpacked through on the hippie trail from Europe to India. American and European travelers described it as one of the most beautiful and hospitable countries they had ever visited. Then came decades of foreign intervention. The CIA-backed Mujahideen in the 1980s. Soviet invasion, Civil War, American occupation. Each wave of foreign interest left destruction behind. The Afghanistan the world hates today was not built by Afghans. It was built by every outside power that decided it was a useful place for someone else's war. Most loved, New Zealand. Clean, green, peaceful, consistently ranked among the happiest, safest, most progressive countries on Earth. It tops global indices for democracy, transparency, and quality of life. Lord of the Rings made it look like Middle-earth, and in many ways it seems like the closest place to paradise that actually exists. But here's what the rankings don't measure. The Maori people, the indigenous population of New Zealand, have life expectancy rates, poverty levels, and incarceration rates that look nothing like the paradise the tourism board advertises. The language that was spoken across these islands for centuries was systematically banned in schools. Children were punished for speaking Maori as recently as the 1950s. The New Zealand that gets praised by the world is real, but it sits on top of a much older New Zealand that was deliberately erased and is only now slowly being acknowledged. Most hated: Somalia, piracy, famine, failed state, no functioning government. These are the words the world uses, and for decades they have not been wrong. But Somalia was not always this. In the 1970s, Mogadishu was a city of white sand beaches, open-air restaurants, and one of East Africa's most vibrant cultural scenes. Somalia had one of the highest literacy growth rates in the world after a mass education campaign in its own Somali script. The collapse came in stages, each one connected to outside forces. Cold War powers flooded the region with weapons. A US-backed military government destabilized neighboring Ethiopia. When the Soviet Union fell, international interest in Somalia vanished overnight, along with all support. The country was left with weapons, competing warlords, and no functioning economy. The pirates the world mocked for hijacking ships? Most came from fishing communities that foreign trawlers had been illegally stripping of their livelihoods for years. The sea was all they had left. Most loved: Japan, the country that gets everything right. Bullet trains that run on the second. Streets so clean you could eat off them. A culture of discipline, precision, and beauty. From cherry blossom festivals to centuries-old tea ceremonies. Every traveler comes back saying the same thing. Japan restored their faith in what humans are capable of. But the Japan the world loves is also the country that spent decades hiding one of history's most traumatic industrial disasters. The mercury poisoning in Minamata Bay, where a chemical company secretly dumped waste for decades and caused generational neurological damage across an entire fishing community, was suppressed by government and corporation for years. Victims were shamed, evidence was buried, and Japan's economic miracle? Built partly on the labor of colonial subjects from Korea and China who were brought to work in wartime factories and mines, and whose descendants still face discrimination in Japanese society today. Most hated: Venezuela, collapsed economy, hyperinflation that made currency worthless, millions fleeing, a humanitarian crisis that has emptied a country. The images that dominate global news are of empty shelves and crumbling hospitals. But Venezuela was once the richest country in Latin America. It has the largest proven oil reserves on Earth, larger than Saudi Arabia. In the 1970s, it was a democracy, a destination, a model for regional development. Caracas had a cosmopolitan culture that drew immigrants from across Europe and the Americas. The collapse is real, but the reasons are complicated in ways that don't fit into a news headline. Decades of over-reliance on oil revenue, a strategy Western oil companies helped design. Falling oil prices engineered by global markets. Sanctions that cut off the ability to import food and medicine. The people leaving Venezuela are not leaving because of ideology. They are leaving because outside economic forces made staying impossible. The hidden truth. Here's what every place we visited today has in common. None of them chose their reputation. Paris did not decide to become a symbol of romance. Kabul did not decide to become a symbol of war. New Zealand did not decide to advertise itself as paradise. Somalia did not decide to become a symbol of failure. In every single case, the story of a place was told by someone else. By empires, by advertisers, by governments, by algorithms that decide what goes viral and what disappears. The world's most loved places have powerful storytellers. The world's most hated places have powerful enemies. And here's the darkest truth of all. The places with the best PR are not always the ones with the best people. And the places with the worst PR are not always the ones with the worst lives. The map you have in your head was drawn by someone, and it was drawn for a reason. The question is whether you ever stop to ask who drew it.